This is now the fastest way to take down a leaper. Get it into a building, shoot the leaper to get its attention. Once it's up against the building, throw the Trailblazer, standing as closely to the leaper as possible, and then shoot it a few times with the anvil, and job's done. This can also work really effective with the Shredder, but there's an important thing you need to know about the Trailblazer. When you throw the grenade, it'll create a trail towards wherever you're throwing it, and then create an explosion leading back to you. Whatever's in that trail will take damage. But the Shredder has enough time to move out of the way to avoid that damage. So the best thing you can do is trap it in a small room, throw the grenade in the room, and close the door, and the job will be done. You can also do the same with about 3 to 4 Trailblazers on a Bastion or Bombardier. But to make this work, you're going to need to stand as close as possible. The closer you are, the more of that gas trail will go over the Bastion, and the more damage you'll be able to do to it. It might take a couple more if you don't get close enough. Now, you might be wondering, how can you get close enough to the Bastion when it's firing a minigun at you? Well, bring a single law grenade, and then as the law grenade is distracting the Bastion, you've got about 10 seconds to throw 3 Trailblazers as the Bastion's looking the other way, and then the Bastion will be destroyed. If you don't trust the timing with the Lornade, another way to do it is to use a showstopper first. This won't stop it from moving, but it will disable the turret for a few seconds, giving you enough time to throw the Trailblazers. Unlike the Blaze Grenade, which doesn't stack damage when you throw all of them at once, the Trailblazer does, so you can just throw them all at the same time instead of waiting in between grenade, and it'll do all of the damage you need all at once. Okay, but I thought the Deadline was like the best grenade. Surely that's a better option for dealing with the Bastion and Bombardier, right? Well, yes, but it's kind of hard to get the Deadline on the Bastion and Bombardier. Here's the best way to do it on the Bastion. When it gets close to you, try to deal damage to one of the knees so that it's almost about to break. And then let it get as close as possible to whatever building you're hiding in. Then shoot down the knee, or then be temporarily disabled. You can then run and put the Deadline on top of it, right at the top of the body. Get back inside, and it will be destroyed immediately. You can also do the same thing with the Bombardier. The best strategy is just to sneak up as close to it as possible by using cover like buildings so that the spotters don't find you. When you're super close, you can throw a law grenade to make the Bombardier shoot that for a few seconds, and that gives you the window to go and put the Deadline on it. Just be aware that it will send out shockwaves if you get too close, similar to the Leaper, and that can stun you and deal damage. So be on your toes when you try this, but just like with a Bastion, it will one-shot. I didn't get to see the Bombardier die from the Deadline this time because I got ratted, so I had to go and kill the rat. And then when I went back to the Bombardier body, it was destroyed. Alright, what about the Rocketeer? What's the fastest way to take that down? Honestly, it's still going to be a wolf pack if you can get your hands on 1 or 2. Usually 1 and a couple anvil shots will do it. Otherwise, 2 will do the job as soon as possible. But the new secret grenades are an interesting option. They're cheaper to craft, and it will take about 15 to take down a Rocketeer. So not a crazy amount of resources, but you do need to run around with 15 of these grenades on you. But what's interesting about these secret grenades is that, unlike the Wolfpack, which has a 100-meter distance, the secret grenades do not. You just need to throw it close to the Rocketeer, and then it will seek the target once it's in radius of it. What this means is you can pick off a Rocketeer from a distance, which is something you wouldn't be able to do with a Wolfpack. Honestly though, one of my favorite things about the secret grenade is it just one-shots wasps. That feels so good to do, because the wasps are the worst. They seem non-threatening, they're the smallest, weakest arc. My goodness, do they get on my nerves. So I might carry a few of these around. Now, when it comes to the Hornet, it's a different story. As you can see, they're armored, so it's not quite as effective. But still pretty decent way to get them down. So having these in your inventory, because they're so easy to craft, isn't a bad idea whatsoever. Now, you may notice something about all of these methods. They all use the new grenades, the Trailblazer, the secret grenade, and the Deadline. And that's because these were all added as blueprints in the Cold Snap update. We can finally craft these things, so it's finally viable to actually use them. And yeah, the Trailblazer and Deadline are really overpowered. Trouble is getting the materials for them and the blueprints in the first place. Where do they drop? Well, they only drop on Stella Montes. And the drop rate is actually quite common. Just loot every container on Stella and eventually you'll get them. They're not too rare, honestly. Now, the crafting materials for these, it's a different story. The secret grenades only need crude explosives and arc alloys, so we won't talk about that. But the Trailblazer and Deadline need arc circuitry for the Deadline and explosive compound. And the Trailblazer needs explosive compound and synthesized fuel. The arc circuitry isn't a big thing. We can just kill any arc and then go to the refiner and make it there. So not a problem. But the synthesized fuel and the explosive compound can be a bit of a problem. So I'm going to show you a nice route that you can do to farm it quite a lot. And this will also give you a nice chance to get these blueprints here as well. And potentially some augment blueprints. This whole loot route is all about looting the lobby area. And I'll show you some ways to do it efficiently. And you can just do a few runs of it and you have enough to build quite a few Deadlines and Trailblazers. Been run through already, but we want to start here. Check in this room for these black boxes. These can have explosive compound in and compound explosives, which is useful. We'll come down through here. And then the room on the left can also have explosive compound and synthesized fuel. There's not somebody in here. Right here. The actual containers themselves can sometimes have explosive compound in as well. Although, you're mostly getting other things. If you spawn late, it's probably not worth looting these. But, you know, you might get lucky. And then we're going to come along here. Sometimes there can be a security breach here. We can get that. Because the security breach can actually now drop the Trailblazer. And also, there you go. See that? It drops a new grenade, which is pretty cool. Okay, interesting. What is she doing, dude? Interesting. Yeah. So, it makes it really worth it. Because that saves you a lot of effort. You do have that skill. I mean, we could have just been friends. Is she doing like a melee-only run or something? So, that's worth checking out. And you can also get explosive compound in here as well. And then another black box there. Which you can check for the same stuff. Or explosive compound. You know, that's almost a whole Deadline right there, right? You only need 3. These cabinets here can also have explosive compound. And most people, for some reason, they just don't pick it up. I don't know why. Oh, looks like they did get taken there. Another black box here, which can also have the same stuff. And then as we come along here, these cabinets can also spawn the same. And they can also have augment blueprints in here. It's the same container that you would find in Blue Gate. And they do spawn. I got my survivor augment there just this patch. Just yesterday, actually. So sometimes you get unlucky and it's only crude explosives, but that's fine. Now what we're going to want to do is come out through this way. Run along here. Have to deal with that wasp quickly. Okay. Alright, we'll just close that door a minute. I'm going to let her get away, though, because I would like that health that she has. Everyone's a little unfriendly today, aren't they? Sorry, we'll get back to the loot route in a minute. Let me just heal up. Break that down. Right, so. Anyway, where I wanted to go before we got distracted by the hornets and that crazy murderer is we want to come along here. Up here. Check the cart here, because there can be more fuel canisters there. And obviously this is 1/2 of a Trailblazer right there. Then we're going to come along up here to the top floor now. Okay. And we're going to come along here. Go into the stairwell. All the way around over here. And we're going to come through down here. At the bottom, find another cart that can also spawn more of these fuel cans. So, you know, I mean, that there, we've already got one of these. We've got enough to build out a couple more. 4 more, really. We don't have to breach this. We could go back upstairs, but I'm just going to do it. Now what we want to do, come through here. Open this. And what we can do is just jump off of there. Fine, okay. And then if we come along around about there, and then we can go down and then get off there. We're not going to take much damage. We can run through this way. We can also grab and grab onto the ledge of those things. Not take full damage. And in here, we're going to find the fuel. Fun fact, this is a medical style container, which can also spawn augment blueprints and Vita spray blueprints. So keep that in mind. But mostly only when it's like, find those in Buried City, for example, in the hospital building. And yeah, there's a chance to find them there. There'll be more fuel there as well, and oil. And all of these are filled with trinkets and residential items. All of these containers. But they also have a bunch of magnets on the actual thing itself. So a really underrated spot. And now, just like that, we've got 6 of these. 2 explosive compounds. 7 crude explosives, which, if we were lucky, could have been explosive compound. Now all we've got to do is get out alive. Hello, are you friendly? It's a little bit crazy in Stellar Montes right now. But if you're going with a free loadout or, like, just nothing and have a safe pocket free, you could grab some stuff. You die, you don't lose anything. And then we're out. And just like that, we've got enough to craft some of these grenades. And we can do that run like a few times and build up a nice stash of them. And if you keep following this route and looting as many containers as you go, eventually you will, just by fact of probability, get the Deadline and Trailblazer Blueprint 2. Hopefully you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.